does God give a pastor power in Islamic according to Quran?
Okay.
Or he himself, God work through that person with his own power without sharing that power to the other person or the pastor?
Okay, thank you very much. It is indeed a very good afternoon to you and all our listeners.
Yeah,
and
maybe you can first articulate if we have pastors in Islamic religion or a faith.
Pastors and powers. Do we have pastors in Islam? Understanding what is meant by being a pastor. A pastor is like a shepherd. He does what a shepherd does to the sheep. That is why also the congregants are referred to as the flock, because this flock is under the guidance of a pastor. And normally, a person who is given the responsibility of shepherding the others must have some virtues above those other people, must be more enlightened than those that he is leading. Because I was about to say he or she is leading. But then I remembered that my understanding and belief is that we don't have female pastors
in Islamic.
Even in Christianity also. It is reserved for males, even though we now have females that are occupying those positions, but scripturally we don't have. And so the person must be more knowledgeable than the others, and the person must be God-fearing than the others. Why? How can you lead people when you are blind? It is said that the blind cannot lead the blind. You need somebody who can see in order to lead the rest. And after being able to see, and it is only through the knowledge of the Almighty God and faith that we can be able to see properly. So when you ask now that do pastors have powers? Yes, they do have powers. Powers are divided into two. There are natural powers that emanate from their knowledge, the knowledge that we have. That is why in English they say knowledge is power. The moment you are knowledgeable, you gain a certain amount of power that you should be able to use for development, for progress, for edifying others and yourself. It must begin with yourself. And then there is the new supernatural powers. And these supernatural powers, I would not attribute them just to knowledge, but these are what emanate from faith that is coupled with action. Because when you have strong faith, then the Almighty God is going to give you certain powers that are not given to ordinary people. Oftentimes, allow me to even indulge Pastor Roman Piswana and cite a verse that we have cited before many times. These men, they were trying to chase out demons and they failed. And Jesus said, this type cannot come out except by fasting and prayer. So which means that there is a certain amount of power that one will achieve by virtue of them doing certain things. The more prayerful you are, the more powers you will have. The more fasting you do, the more powers you will have. So you may be a pastor, but if you lack prayer in your life, if you lack some of these things like fasting, you may limit yourself in terms of your power. And these are not things that are only, or these are not powers that are only restricted to pastors, but every believer. I believe there is also a narration that he said, "O ye of little faith, how long must I be with you?" Which means that it was their faith that was little that limited their powers. So which then leads us to an understanding that the more faith you have, the more power you will have. I remember there was a pastor who gave a sermon. And in his sermon, he said, if you have faith as big as a certain mountain, you will be able to go through that river, pointing at a river that was not so far away. And you will be able to walk on the water and cross the river. And it is said that the congregants, there were some people who were listening who believed in the pastor. And so one of these people, this man, he went to that river and he walked on top of the water and he crossed the river. When the pastor saw this man crossing the water and walking on top of the river, the pastor was surprised. He is the one who was preaching about having faith and you will be able to overcome, these other natural things. And the pastor now, he was doubting his own ability. He tried to cross the river. But guess what? He failed. He sank in the water. He drowned in the water. So why did the pastor fail to cross, but his congregant managed to pass? Because the congregant had enough faith. So what I believe is power is not limited to pastors. Powers is something
everyone.
that is a reserve for everyone who has enough faith. When it comes to the teaching of Islam, in order for you to have power, you have to have faith and follow that faith with righteous deeds, following the commands of the Almighty God and staying away from the prohibitions of the Almighty God.
Yes.
And when you do that, the Almighty God is going to aid you. When you are going to make requests or make prayers, God will answer your prayers. And when you are going to make du'as of healing for a person, that person will be healed. We know of many, numerous, countless stories of righteous people who have strong faith, who were very pious in terms of their practices, their righteous deeds, who abstained from the prohibitions of the Almighty God, who do a lot of supernatural things. And sometimes they will do it, without paying attention to what they are doing. They will just do it as if they are just doing something that is natural. A certain man, he was traveling with some other people and they got to a point where they needed money. He had just been given a new pair of clothing where he had not put any money or nothing, and he had just changed. When he got to that point, he just put his hand in his pocket and came out brand new notes of money, and they managed to pay. And people who were with him, they started asking, but these clothes we gave him and he changed and we knew he did not put money. Where did that money come from? So when you are going to make utterances, those utterances are going to carry power. So when you ask, are the pastors powerful? I would say that not the pastors, but believers. You should ask, are believers powerful? Yes, believers are powerful. And amongst the believers, there are those that are pastors. There are those who do not want any position in this world. There are some people who have actually withdrawn themselves. They don't want to have anything to do with this material and mundane life. They just dedicate themselves to the worship of the Almighty God, and they don't want fame and name. They just worship the Almighty God in solace. Those people, they are very powerful. If they pray, their prayers are going to be granted. So yes, the believers, they have got powers that, unfortunately, some of these believers, they do not know the powers that they have. That is why now the pastors seem to have more powers. Why? Because of their knowledge. They get to understand that when a person has got A, B, C, D, they have got this supernatural ability to do E, F, G, H. So they then use the knowledge that they have to draw from the treasures that they have. It's like a person who is having a bank card. This card, inside there is a lot of wealth, a lot of monies, but the person doesn't know the value of what is inside and doesn't know how to use that bank card. That person will be broke. That person will go hungry, thirsty without them knowing that I have got the ability to drink or to eat whatever I want.
Yes.
All I need is to just insert this card into the ATM or the swiping machines, and I'll be able to purchase whatever I want. So the pastors have this knowledge of what they have. That is why they shine above the rest. And that is why they have got the ability to even guide and awaken other people that, hey, wake up from your slumber. Don't you know the power that you have? Because of the knowledge that they have.
Yeah. Lo phala Imam ndikho liwesanga manda. Mthile so invele mfemba jena nga 0714